Right then, Forest faithful, sit yourselves down because what I'm about to tell you will shake you to your very core. Something massive is happening at the city ground, and I mean massive. The kind of drama that makes you question everything. You thought you knew about our beloved Reds. We're talking about earthquakes in the boardroom, battles behind closed doors, and decisions that could change the entire trajectory of our European adventure. Picture this: 1 minute we're celebrating like absolute legends, Europa League secured, beating Brentford, everything looking rosy. The next minute, pure chaos. The manager's future hanging by a thread, the owner's relationship fractured, and transfer policies causing World War III in the corridors of power. But here's the thing that'll really get your blood boiling. Whilst all this drama unfolds, our boys are out there fighting tooth and nail on the pitch. Hudson-Odoi pulling miracles out of thin air, the fans singing their hearts out, and Crystal Palace getting a proper taste of Forest justice. You think you know what's been happening? You think you've heard the full story? Mate, you haven't got a clue. What I've uncovered will leave you absolutely speechless. We're talking about power struggles that make Game of Thrones look like a children's bedtime story. Agent wars, transfer battles, and relationships so broken they might never be fixed. The very soul of our club is at stake here, and every single decision made in the coming days will echo through the Trent End for generations. I've got 5 explosive revelations that will change everything you think you know about Nottingham Forest in August 2025. Each one more shocking than the last. Each one threatening to tear apart the fabric of what we've built. So here's what I need from you right now. Smash that like button, because this is the most important Forest video you'll watch this season. Drop a comment telling me, are you ready for the truth? Because once you hear what really happened this weekend, there's no going back. The first revelation is about to blow your mind. It involves our star winger, a hostile crowd, and a performance that proved why we belong in European competition. But the aftermath? That's where things get really interesting. There's a winger who's been carrying our hopes and dreams on his shoulders. A player who's shown more heart and determination than half the squad combined. But what happened to him at Selhurst Park wasn't just about football. It was about making a statement to the entire Premier League. I'm talking about Callum Hudson-Odoi, and what he delivered in South London was nothing short of magical. Picture the scene. Crystal Palace calling it El Cacico, their fans baying for blood, banners aimed at our owner, security guards escorting our players like they're entering a war zone. The atmosphere was absolutely toxic, mate. This wasn't just any Premier League fixture, this was personal. This was about European places stolen and relationships destroyed. Palace took the lead through Ismail Assar on 37 minutes, and you could feel the smugness oozing from their end. They thought they had us. They thought they could embarrass us on their own patch. But that's when our boy Hudson-Odoi stepped up and reminded everyone why he's Premier League quality. 57 minutes on the clock, and Dan Ndoye plays this crossfield ball that catches Tyrick Mitchell completely off guard. Hudson-Odoi sees the space, muscles his way into the area like an absolute warrior, and buries it past Dean Henderson at the near post. The technique was sublime, the composure was ice cold, and the celebration? Pure class. But here's what the cameras didn't show you. Hudson-Odoi wasn't just scoring a goal, he was sending a message to Palace fans who thought they could intimidate us, a message to the Premier League that Forest won't be pushed around, and most importantly, a message to our own hierarchy that some things are bigger than boardroom politics. Thomas Tuchel was watching from the stands, and you can bet your bottom dollar he was taking notes. This is exactly the kind of performance that gets England managers excited. Hudson-Odoi showed pace, power, intelligence, and that killer instinct that separates good players from great ones. What makes this even more special is the context. Whilst our club is falling apart behind the scenes, whilst our manager's job is hanging by a thread, whilst agents are fighting wars in the corridors, Hudson-Odoi just gets on with it. No drama, no excuses, just pure footballing excellence when it matters most. And here's a mad stat for you. Forest haven't lost at Selhurst Park since 2003, 22 years. Hudson-Odoi just helped maintain that incredible record whilst everything else around the club is crumbling. The lad came from Chelsea's academy, knows what pressure feels like, and delivered when the stakes couldn't be higher. That's the kind of character we need more of at the City Ground. But what happened in the stands whilst Hudson-Odoi was working his magic? That's where our next story gets really interesting, because the Forest faithful had something very specific to say about all this chaos. Do you think Hudson-Odoi's performance proves he should be our first choice winger for Europe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from every single one of you. Sometimes the best way to judge a man's character isn't by what his enemies say about him. It's by how his people respond when he's under attack. And what happened in the away end at Selhurst Park told you everything you need to know about where Forest fans really stand. The man at the center of it all? Evangelos Marinakis, our Greek shipping magnate who's become public enemy number one in South London. Now, let's set the scene properly here. Palace fans absolutely despise Marinakis because they believe he's responsible for their Europa League heartbreak. UEFA kicked them out of European competition, and somehow it's all our owner's fault. The atmosphere was venomous, mate. Banners targeting Marinakis personally. Chants about UEFA corruption, the full toxic package. But here's what made my heart sink. Early doors in that first half, when the hostility was at its peak, when Palace fans were screaming blue murder, our traveling support delivered the perfect response. Marinakis, he does what he wants. Absolutely brilliant. No backing down, no apologizing, just pure defiance in the face of manufactured outrage. And you know what? They're absolutely right to back him. Marinakis didn't force UEFA to kick Palace out. He simply wrote a letter about multi-club ownership protocols because he wanted to get his own house in order. That's called being professional. That's called thinking ahead. If Palace's chairman had done the same thing months earlier, they'd still be in Europe. But Palace fans would rather blame everyone else than look in the mirror, wouldn't they? It's easier to paint Marinakis as some sort of villain than admit their own club didn't follow the rules properly. What makes this even sweeter is that our owner wasn't even at Selhurst Park for this match. Probably too busy counting the Europa League money whilst Palace fans were crying into their pints. But his absence made the fan support even more powerful. They didn't need him there to show their loyalty. This is a man who's transformed our club from championship strugglers to European contenders. He's invested over $200 million in players, backed every manager, upgraded facilities, and delivered the kind of success we hadn't seen for decades. And some bitter Palace fans think a few nasty chants will turn us against him? Not a chance, mate. Forest fans know loyalty. We know what it means to stick by your own when times get tough. The beautiful irony here is that whilst Palace fans were wasting energy hating Marinakis, our boys were out there earning a point that maintains our unbeaten record at their ground. 22 years without losing at Selhurst Park. And they still can't beat us even when they hate our owner more than their own rivals. Marinakis has given us European football for the first time in 30 years. He's given us hope, ambition, and a squad capable of competing with anyone in the Premier League. The man deserves our respect, not just our support. But here's where things get complicated. Because whilst the fans are singing his name, behind the scenes there's a power struggle that threatens to tear everything apart. And the man who could be gone by next weekend. The manager who led us to 7th place and European qualification. What do you think about Marinakis? Has he been good for Forest, or are the critics right to question him? I need to know where you stand. Comment below and let's get this debate going. There's a manager who took us from Premier League strugglers to European contenders, a man who delivered our highest league finish in decades and earned the respect of every Forest fan. But right now his future hangs by the thinnest of threads, and what's happening behind closed doors is absolutely scandalous. I'm talking about Nuno Espirito Santo, and the club hierarchy might be ready to pull the plug on him before the week is out. Let me paint you the picture of just how dramatic this situation has become. After Friday's press conference, when Nuno admitted his relationship with Marinakis had deteriorated, the football world went into absolute meltdown. This isn't just any manager. This is the man who guided us to 7th place last season, who masterminded our European qualification, who turned the City Ground into a fortress. But according to sources close to the club, the damage between Nuno and the board might be irreparable. Crisis talks are planned for this week, and there's genuine fear that our Portuguese mastermind could be clearing his desk before the transfer window even closes. The Telegraph claims Marinakis himself is baffled by Nuno's explosive comments. Think about that for a moment. The owner who backed him through thick and thin, who provided transfer funds others could only dream of, is now questioning whether his manager has lost the plot entirely. And here's where it gets absolutely mental. The rumor mill has already started churning out potential replacements, and the names being mentioned are proper blockbusters. Ange Postecoglou, fresh from his Tottenham sacking. Jose Mourinho, the special one himself. But the name that's really got tongues wagging is the most realistic and terrifying of all. Trade Brendan Rodgers, the Northern Irish magician who's conquered Celtic Park twice and knows exactly how to handle pressure at the highest level. Alan Nixon from The Sun claims Marinakis has had his eye on Rodgers for months, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. Rodgers is in the final year of his Celtic contract. He's reportedly frustrated with their transfer activity, and he's got a proven track record of improving players and winning trophies. Here's the kicker though. Rodgers has walked out on Celtic before, hasn't he? Left them high and dry to join Leicester City. If he can do it once, he can do it again, especially with European football and Premier League wages on the table. But let's be brutally honest here. Would Rodgers actually be an upgrade on Nuno, the man who took Leicester from title winners to championship relegation, the manager who couldn't handle the pressure at Anfield when it really mattered? On the other hand, his track record at Celtic is phenomenal. Multiple league titles, domestic trebles, Champions League experience. He knows how to manage expectations, handle big personalities, and deliver when the stakes are highest. The most heartbreaking part of all this is that Nuno deserves better. He's delivered everything we asked for and more. European football, exciting. Football, results against the Big Six. His tactical flexibility, his man management skills, his connection with the fans, you can't just throw that away because of personality conflicts. But if the relationship with Edu is truly beyond repair, if the communication with Marinakis is completely broken down, then maybe a fresh start is the only solution. Maybe Rodgers represents the kind of reset we need to take the next step in our European journey. Here's my question for you though. Would you rather stick with Nuno through this crisis or roll the dice on Brendan Rodgers? It's a massive decision. That could define our entire season. There's a power struggle happening at the City Ground that makes House of Cards look like amateur dramatics. A behind-the-scenes war between two footballing heavyweights that's threatening to destroy everything we've built. And at the heart of this chaos sits a man whose arrival was supposed to revolutionize our approach to transfers. I'm talking about Edu Gaspar, Arsenal's former sporting director and the catalyst for the most dramatic crisis in Forest's recent history. Here's what really happened, and it's absolutely mental. When Edu arrived as our new global head of football, everyone thought it was a masterstroke. The man who helped transform Arsenal from Europa League strugglers to title contenders, bringing his expertise to the City Ground. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, as it turns out, according to Daniel Taylor from The Athletic, and this man doesn't write fiction. Nuno's relationship with Edu started badly and has deteriorated to the point where it's potentially irreparable. We're not talking about professional disagreements here, we're talking about personal animosity so toxic that Edu has been staying away from the training ground. Let me repeat that. Our global head of football is avoiding our training ground because the atmosphere is so poisonous. How is that supposed to work exactly? But here's where it gets properly juicy. The real issue isn't just personality clashes, it's about power, control, and the future direction of our transfer policy. Edu arrived with Kia Joorabchian as his closest ally, the influential businessman who's got his fingers in more football pies than you can count. Meanwhile, Nuno has always worked closely with Jorge Mendes, the super agent who was practically Marinakis' go-to man for transfers. Mendes helped bring in some of our biggest signings, built relationships across European football, and understood exactly what kind of players succeed in the Premier League. But here's the shocking part. Mendes hasn't been involved in a single Forest transfer since June 2024. Think about that. Our most successful agent relationship completely frozen out. Instead, it's all about Joorabchian now, and Nuno clearly doesn't trust the direction this is heading. This isn't just about egos or personality conflicts. This is about fundamental disagreements over how a football club should be run. Nuno wants control over his squad, wants to work with people he trusts, wants continuity in his relationships. Edu wants to modernize our approach, streamline our operations, and work within his own network of contacts. Both approaches have merit, but they're completely incompatible when the key figures involved hate each other's guts. What makes this even more frustrating is the timing. We've just secured European football for the first time in 3 decades. We've got a squad capable of competing on multiple fronts, and instead of building on that success, we're tearing ourselves apart from within, and the club spent over $90 million on 4 new signings last week: James McAtee, Arnaud Kalimuendo, Omari Hutchinson, and others. But apparently that wasn't enough to satisfy Nuno's demands, and all 4 were named on the bench against Palace. What's the point of investing that kind of money if the manager doesn't trust the process? And here's what really gets me. Whilst these 2 grown men are having their playground arguments, it's Marinakis who's caught in the middle. The owner who's invested his heart, soul, and hundreds of millions of pounds into this club, now having to choose between his new sporting director and the manager who delivered European football. It's a lose-lose situation that could set us back years if it's not resolved properly. Do you think Edu was the right appointment for Forest? Or should we have stuck with the system that was working? The comment section is going to be spicy on this one. Sometimes in football, it's not about tactics, or transfers, or trophies. Sometimes it's about a man looking into the camera and telling you exactly where his heart lies, no matter what chaos surrounds him. And what our manager said before the Palace match wasn't just an interview, it was a declaration of war for the very soul of Nottingham Forest. Nuno Espirito Santo stood there, cameras rolling, speculation swirling, job on the line, and delivered 2 words that should echo around the city ground for years to come. Of course! When asked if he wants to continue as Forest coach, no hesitation, no political answers, no agent speak. Of course! And when pressed about whether he had any doubts, ever! That, my friends, is what proper character looks like, under pressure. But here's what made this moment even more powerful. Nuno wasn't just fighting for his job, he was fighting for a vision of what Nottingham Forest should be. A club where managers have genuine relationships with owners, where continuity matters more than corporate restructuring, where the people who delivered success aren't tossed aside at the first sign of difficulty. He admitted the painful truth. His relationship with Marinakis has changed. The daily communication from last season has disappeared. Things aren't the same. But instead of running away or making excuses, he's demanding face-to-face talks to sort it out properly. There's no speculation around anything, he insisted. What we have is to communicate. How we're going to approach the final days of the market out, how we're going to approach the new season, how we're going to prepare our boys. This is leadership, pure and simple. Not the corporate buzzword version you hear in most press conferences, but real, honest leadership from a man who's earned the right to be heard. Think about what Nuno has actually achieved at Forest. Took over a club that was flirting with relegation, transformed our style of play, developed young players, managed big egos, navigated VAR controversies, and delivered our highest Premier League finish in decades. European football, mate. European football for the first time since 1995. And now, because of personality clashes with a new appointment, because of agent politics and corporate restructuring, we're supposed to just bin him off and start again. The man has proven he can handle pressure, proven he can get results, proven he understands what it means to manage Nottingham Forest. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many managers come and go without ever grasping what this club is really about? But there's something deeper happening here. Something that goes beyond individual personalities or tactical disagreements. This is about whether Forest remains a football club or becomes another corporate entity. Whether relationships and loyalty still matter in modern football, or whether everything is just business now. Nuno represents the old way. Passion, personal connections, gut instincts, trusting your eyes over spreadsheets. Edu represents the new way. Data analysis, network relationships, systematic approaches, corporate efficiency. Both have their place in modern football, but they have to coexist. And if the people at the top can't find a way to make that work, then we're all going to suffer for it. Here's what I think needs to happen. Marinakis needs to get everyone in a room this week and remind them what we're trying to achieve here. European football isn't the end goal, it's the beginning. We've got Champions League ambitions, we've got a fan base that deserves success, and we've got a manager who's proven he can deliver it. The ego battles need to stop. The power struggles need to end. And everyone needs to focus on what's best for Nottingham Forest, not what's best for their own careers. What do you think defines this football club? Is it the corporate efficiency of modern football, or is it the passion and personality that makes Forest special? Because that's really what this fight is about. The soul of our club and where we're heading next. Hit that like button if you want to see Nuno stay. Smash subscribe if you're ready for whatever comes next. And tell me in the comments, what kind of Nottingham Forest do you want to support? The next few days could change everything. Are you ready for what's coming?